Giza, 25th century BC. You step onto the plateau and the noise hits you. Chisels shouting, a block crashing onto the ramp, dust above your head. You look up, 60 feet of limestone painted deep red, white eyes catching the light. Not the gray ruin tourists photograph. This Sphinx is alive, looking directly at you. Around you, men chip at the rock with copper tools. No idea what this will become. Walk through the day the Sphinx was made in ancient Egypt. You are standing on the Giza Plateau, 9 miles west of the Nile, at what is without any doubt the largest and loudest construction site on Earth. Let me be honest with you about the date. We know it is the 26th century BC during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre. Beyond that, the exact year and season are genuinely uncertain. What is not uncertain is the scale of what you are looking at. 20,000 workers, an area the equivalent of 10 modern city blocks, and 3 enormous structures being built simultaneously. The 3 pyramids of Giza, the largest of which, Khufu's pyramid to your north, is already complete and standing 146 meters tall, the tallest structure humans have ever built. The Sphinx is the newest project, and it is extraordinary for reasons that most people who photograph it today do not fully appreciate. Walk toward it. A man passes you carrying a basket of limestone chips on his back. The debris from the chiseling collected and removed so the surface stays clear for the workers above. He does not look at you. He has been making this walk back and forth across the plateau since before sunrise. Behind him, a boy of perhaps 12 carries a smaller basket, matching his pace, not talking. This is not unusual. Children work here. Everyone who can carry something carries something. The Sphinx is carved from a single outcrop of limestone bedrock that was already here when the project began. A natural knoll of rock that the architects decided to shape rather than quarry and move. This decision is what makes it possible at all. Moving a block of stone this size would be beyond even the considerable logistical capacity of the Egyptian state. Instead, the workers are subtracting, cutting away everything that is not the Sphinx, revealing the shape within the rock. It is the opposite of how the pyramids were built. Stand at the base and look up. What you should understand, looking at that red face with its white eyes, is that the Sphinx you are looking at right now does not exist today. Not this version of it. The gray weathered stone that tourists photograph in the 21st century is the skeleton of what you are seeing. The original surface was painted. Deep red on the face, yellow on the body, blue and gold detailing on the headdress. The pigments were mixed on site, in pots you can see lined up near the south face. A man crouches over one of them now, grinding red ochre into powder with a flat stone, working slowly and methodically, not looking up. Here is what I find genuinely extraordinary about this detail. In 4,500 years, every trace of that paint will be gone, eroded by wind, bleached by sun, washed by rare desert rain over millennia. The tourists who stand where you are standing in 2024 will see bare limestone and assume that is what it always looked like. They will be wrong. The Sphinx was never gray. It was a colossus of color, visible from miles across the desert, unmissable, commanding. The gray ruin is what time did to it. This is what it actually was. Turn south along the base of the statue. The workers on the upper sections are moving along wooden scaffolding tied to the rock face with rope. A man at the top is chiseling at the headdress, the striped Nemes headdress that marks the figure as royal. He works with a copper chisel and a wooden mallet, short, careful strokes, clearing the surface in a line perhaps 2 centimeters wide. At this rate, it will take him the better part of a day to complete one small section. There are 40 men working the stone surface simultaneously. The math of how long this took does not get easier when you think about it. Walk east toward the workers' village behind the plateau. This is something most people do not know exists because it was not excavated until the 1990s. But it is here and it is substantial. Stone barracks, bakeries, breweries, a medical facility, administrative offices. The workers who built the Sphinx and the pyramids were not enslaved people dragged from their homes. This is one of the most significant conclusions of recent archaeology, and it changes how you understand everything you are looking at. These are state workers, conscripted from across Egypt for rotating terms of service, fed and housed and medically treated by the state. Their skeletons, found in cemeteries near the village, show healed fractures. Someone was treating their injuries. Someone cared whether they recovered. The bakeries are already going at this hour. You can smell the bread before you see the building. the same smell from Alexandria's bakeries in a later century, the fundamental smell of a civilization that runs on grain. A woman is carrying a stack of flat loaves toward the plateau. She moves with the balance of someone who does this every morning. The loaves will be distributed at midday when the work pauses for the hottest part of the day. Stop at the administrative office, a stone room where a scribe sits with a palette of ink and a stack of papyrus, recording the morning's output. How many men arrived? How many blocks moved from the quarry? How many baskets of debris removed from the Sphinx site? The Egyptians kept records of everything, not because they were paranoid, but because running an operation this size requires knowing what happened yesterday to plan what happens tomorrow. The scribe writes quickly in hieratic script, the cursive form of hieroglyphs used for administrative documents, and does not look up when you enter. What he is recording is extraordinary by any standard. The logistics of the Giza plateau in the 26th century BC are comparable to running a small city. The food supply, the tool supply, copper is expensive and chisels wear out fast. And there is a system for collecting blunted tools and sending them to be resharpened and redistributed. The water supply, carried up from the Nile by teams of workers with ceramic jars. The medical supply, the management of the workforce across 3 simultaneous construction projects. All of this organized, tracked, and recorded by men with reed pens and papyrus. Walk back to the Sphinx as the sun reaches midday. The work has paused. Workers are sitting in the shade of the statue itself. The deep shadow cast by the body is the best shade on the plateau at this hour. A group of men are eating bread and something from a ceramic bowl, talking quietly. One of them is showing another a mark on his forearm, a healed scar following the line of the bone. He holds it up, demonstrating something, and the other man nods. They have the conversation of people who share a specific kind of physical experience. Here is something worth sitting with for a moment. Every man on this plateau, every man who has ever worked on the Sphinx or the pyramids, will go to his grave without knowing what you know. None of them will live to see what this becomes. None of them will hear the word wonder, or understand that people from countries that do not yet exist will cross distances that currently have no name to stand where you are standing. They know the pharaoh ordered it. They know the limestone is hard. They know they are building something royal and religious and important. The full scale of what they are making is beyond what any of them can see. The man grinding the red pigment this morning does not know he is making the face that will look out across the Giza plateau for 4,500 years. He knows he is doing his job well or badly, that the overseer is watching, that the paint needs to be a specific consistency or it will not adhere to the stone. That is the horizon of his day. And yet the thing he is helping to make will outlast every empire that currently exists on Earth. Walk back to the plateau as the afternoon work resumes. The chiseling starts again. You hear it before you see it. The rhythm of copper against limestone that defines this place, that has defined it for years and will continue for years more. A block arrives from the quarry on a wooden sledge, dragged across wet sand by 40 men pulling ropes, and the sound of its arrival, the grinding, the shout of the overseer, the controlled crash as it settles into position, carries across the whole site. Stand at the base of the Sphinx one more time as the afternoon light shifts. The painted face catches the lower angle of the sun differently now. The red is warmer, the white eyes more startling against it. The workers on the scaffolding are still going. The man with the copper chisel is still working his 2-centimeter line across the headdress. The boy with the basket of debris has made this walk perhaps 40 times today. What I want you to understand, standing here, is that the Sphinx is not a monument to a pharaoh's vanity. It is a theological statement. The Sphinx faces east, directly toward the rising sun, directly toward the horizon where Ra, the sun god, begins his daily journey across the sky. The pharaoh's face on a lion's body is not decoration. It is a claim that the king partakes of divine nature, that the boundary between human and God is not fixed, that the ruler of Egypt stands at the intersection of the earthly and the cosmic. Every chisel strike on this rock is participating in that claim. The workers may not articulate it in these terms, but they live in a world where this is simply true, where the pharaoh is genuinely divine and the building of his monuments is genuinely sacred work. The man carrying the basket of limestone chips is not doing construction. He is doing religion. Walk back down from the plateau toward the Nile as the sun begins to descend. The river is catching the last light. gold and flat and enormous, spreading across the floodplain below you. The pyramids behind you are throwing long shadows east across the sand. The Sphinx is still looking east, toward the place where the sun will rise again tomorrow, as it has always risen, as it will always rise, as long as the pharaoh maintains the proper relationship between the human world and the divine one. Tomorrow, the work will resume. The man with the copper chisel will return to his 2-centimeter line. The boy will make his 40 trips with the basket. The scribe will open a new sheet of papyrus and begin recording the morning's output. The pigment will be ground and applied. The Sphinx will take one more day's worth of shape from the living rock. And one day, a day none of them will see, it will be finished. Thanks for walking through this day with us. If this changed how you think about the Sphinx or the people who built it, hit the like button and subscribe. We will see you in the next one.